Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
Hello, this is William, your werewolf, and this is Werewolf the Podcast. If you would like to donate some cash to a starving werewolf who's dead starving because he's starving and stuff, he's not starving really, but it'd be nice if you gave him some money, then you can go down to support the link at the bottom. There's also a Facebook group there and my Twitter handle and my book. If you don't want to do any of that, that's fine. I still love you. Today, I'm going to be telling a story from Fenn's point of view. He's my wolf soul. So, here we go. This is a memory from Fenn's past. Fenn is my wolf soul, and he has been around for hundreds of years. He was created in a magical rite in the Ural Mountains of Siberia when a pack of wolves combined their souls with a pack of humans to try and get through a freezing winter. Hopefully you know all about this because you've listened to the other episodes, ain't you? Fenn has passed through the lives of 5 humans. They have either died or he left them until he got to me. He has many memories of many incidents that he took part in. This is one of his favourites. He calls this Wolf versus Knight. You know, like those crappy YouTube videos where they compare a knight to a ninja and shit. We're getting it from Fenn's point of view. He wanted to contribute, so here we go. It's cool to hear his stories and even better to participate. For goodness sake, do they think they're chasing me? Fenn asked himself as he ran away from the horses. Do they think they're tracking me? As he heard the baying of the hounds that were tracking his scent. They believe they are hunting me. I'm not something to be hunted. I am the hunter. But Fenn had to remind himself that he was doing a lot of running away at this moment to say that he wasn't being hunted. I think I will bite off more than they can chew. And you know what? I know I can chew it. I can chew their fucking head thing right off. Yeah, and stuff. I am loping through the night in my giant wolf form, big, black, and bastardly through and through. The armoured men are on horseback and trying to kill or capture the beast that has just destroyed those pointless people back there in that meaningless little village. You kill a few starving, miserable peasants, and that is perceived as a bad thing, and they want retribution and revenge and shit. I did them a favour in killing them all. Some people take mass murder of their families and friends so personally. Wankers. I mean, you leave a small, unprotected hamlet deep in the countryside. What do you expect to happen? I mean, that is just teasing me, leaving it out there all easily attackable and quickly killable. It was like leaving a donut for a hungry fat kid in easy grasp. The horses that the knights rode were well trained. You could tell this as they were terrified chasing a werewolf, but were still following the rider's frantic instructions. They were well trained, but I know that I will be able to make them, the horses, go mental at some point. And I'm looking forward to that moment of enveloping terror that I could wrap around those poor beasts when appropriate. The knights then, amusingly, will be trying to control several 100 pounds of the crazy beast. I also mean not me being the crazy beast. I mean the freaking out horses connected to the rider's balls, basically. Once deep into the dark woodland, I have stopped and waited for them. I am hidden in the shade and cover of the shrubs of the near woodland. I allow them to go thundering past, lost in the chase on those big equine bags of blood, poo and fear that they ride. The last rider is a little more canny and cautious, looking around him and not charging on blindly after an invisible beast. He slows his nag near me, and I smile a huge and toothy-toothed grin. The man's horse whinnies and shies, sensing something dangerous close, so he pats it on the neck in response and whispers in its ear sweetly to calm it. Oh, sweet, innit? Several things go through my head. One is that horses must be the most farted on animal on the planet. Must be, mustn't they? They have to be, which was distracting. I mean, they literally must be the most farted on creature if you think about it. I cannot think of another animal as often in contact with a human's arse as a horse. Maybe it's most farted on animal by a human. Not sure. Can you think of another one? But then I tense in preparation as they roar past my hiding place surrounded by apoplectic hounds. The last rider, as I said, is moving a little slower and seems to pay the world more attention than the others. He reins the horse to a standstill, very close to me, as some of my smaller brethren share the day's news by howling it out to the world in the distant mountains. It is time for me to do my wolfy shit. I slowly wander out in front of the rider, not threatening, not growling or frenzied, just looking interested in the sight that I see before me. I look at the rider closely, and he freezes solid, his eyes locking in ferocious contact with mine. I stop before him and give the ground a gentle sniff or three. It just seemed appropriate, and then sit before him and stare. The man's horse is on the edge of freaking out, but he gently pats its neck while never leaving my eyes with his own. I can almost smell his brain spinning through different options and imagined outcomes. As I yawn and lick clean my jawline, he makes a decision. It took a while, and really, he only had one option. He slowly reaches back and down, going for what I presume is a weapon. I snarl, curl my lip, and give him a toothy warning. He freezes in his movement and smiles. "Good day, young," he says. I hope he means the fecking horse and not me, cheeky twat. Right, deadifying time. I get up and slowly wander my way forward, changing into my werewolf form as I quicken my pace to get to grips with him. He snatches the reins and rears his horse just in time as I send a claw lashing out in his direction. Sadly, it hits his horse and rips its throat out from the stupid beast's neck. Blood flies with gobbets of flesh as the slashing claw gets to the end of its trajectory. The horse, being big, hasn't realised that it's dead yet, and it tries to scream in a response to its horrific treatment. It stays silent. It's got no throat, has it? It stays rearing on its hind legs. The horse wobbles back and forth and finally dies, collapsing and crushing the rider's leg as it lands on its side. The man yells and struggles beneath the dying horse, trying to push the animal off his leg, desperately fighting to get free. I pad up to him as he weakly reaches for his sword. He drags it from its sheath and flourishes the pointy bit of it at me while holding the not pointy end. "Bleib zurück, beast," he threatens. I continue to move towards him, returning to my wolf form and just sniffing at the now dead horse and showing a little interest in the trapped man. He pushes again at the horse with his untrapped leg and screams into the night for help. It's funny as fuck as he kicks and kicks at the horse, saying something incomprehensible in German. I watch him. This is fun. He knows he is fucked and that I can kill him at any time, and I'm in no rush. He lies back on the ground and tears are shed as he beats the floor. "Gott hilf mir!" he shouts to the sky. Once more he sits up and looks at me, shaking the sword in my direction, but realises that he's no threat, so he drops the blade to the floor and makes every effort to push the horse again from his trapped thigh. I sit down on my haunches and watch the struggling man. He curses and swears, using his free leg to try and push and kick his way free. His hands and everything go into it. This goes on for a little while as he panics and wastes his energy with no positive results. Finally, he is exhausted and he quits trying to escape. He throws himself back flat on the ground once more. His head is in his hands and he mumbles something again to some god or something about getting through this. I yawn at this point and slowly rise from my sitting position and give myself a big doggy shake. I move around to the belly of the horse and step my forepaws onto it. I look down at the trapped man in my new position, seeing what he'll do next. He sits up and takes his weight on his hands, looking up into my face. I see a face full of tears and horror. The panic and the fear fill him as he looks around for an escape plan. His only option is to grab his sword again and lie back flat, trying to keep the blade length between himself and me. The sword is large and unwieldy at close quarters. I lean forward and let the sword point touch my chest. I move gently forward and press myself onto it. He struggles to stop my bulk moving and realises he cannot even pierce my pelt with his dull-pointed, useless weapon. I snatch the wrist that holds the weapon in my mouth. I feel the bones crunch and break between my teeth. My predator's tools slice easily through the flesh and bone like the blades that they are. They remove his hand and the sword falls to the floor with his severed hand attached. His lovely new wound pours forth blood, and I gently lap from the ruined forearm. He makes no noise but just lies there flat, staring at the horrific scene before him. He can't do anything. He holds out his arm and just lets me drink the liquid as it empties from his arteries. His eyes are wide and flicker with shock and disbelief. He passes in and out of consciousness several times, but finally he wakes and comes to some sense of reality, and clarity returns to his eyes. I move forward and place my paws on his chest and push him flat with my nose as he starts to yell and wail. He strikes at me ineffectually with his blood-drained body. He beats me with a freshly butchered and still bleeding arm. He eventually settles, exhausted and crying. I snuffle against his face and lick the salty tears from his eyes. The taste of terror. The taste of terror. He knows that it's over, and he utters his final prayer to his God as I bite deep into his shoulder, shaking my head back and forth so my incisors and canines can rip and tear a large lump of flesh from his upper torso. I lift my head and juggle the chunk of quivering meat deeper into my mouth. The joy of eating living flesh. It tastes alive. Although the man is silent, I still sense he lives. I eat him. I take another bite and, forgive the pun, wolf it down. He hangs on to his life tenaciously in these final moments. He is dying in agony, and I will not make it quicker for him, but I have too many victims to play with tonight. I turn into the dark evening, now becoming the hunter of the hunters. There will be more empty beds and more lamenting women tonight, once my work is done. Here, horsey, horsey.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.